Then we'll spend a little time on the TKI. First, I will summarize the underlying dimensions of assertiveness and cooperativeness and spend a little time on the 5 modes, but it will be brief because I'm assuming that you've covered this material in depth in either our basic training or advanced training course. And then we will consider what are some of the attributes of the situation that determine whether one mode is more effective than another. There, in fact, will be 8 key attributes to consider, and then we'll spend a little time looking at when to use a mode and how to use a mode in order for it to be effective. Then we'll switch to conflict management in groups. And here we need to spend some time again on defining a group. I did a little bit of that in my orientation. And also how a group is different than the sum of the individuals. There's been a tendency, understandably, to simply take the average of the individual TKI results and assume that that explains group conflict handling behavior. But groups are more than the sum of their members, and we have to take that into account. In this section, we're also going to consider what it means to modify the standard instructions on the TKI assessment, and what are we actually assessing when we modify those instructions. In this section, we'll also consider the impact of the leader or co-leaders on the group's choice of conflict handling modes, which is one important feature of what makes a group more than the sum of its individuals. In the next section, developing group TKI profiles is when we bring together the information and tally the results of how people responded to the TKI twice for both inside and outside the group. And this will allow us to develop those group TKI profiles, which I mentioned are far more complicated than a single individual TKI profile. In fact, we'll be looking at the high scores and the low scores, both inside and outside the group, which creates a 4-fold diagram of conflict handling modes. And once we've developed these 4-fold group TKI profiles, we'll be able to see the important distinction between what is called situational similarities and situational differences that cut across people's conflict handling choices within their group and in other life settings. And this will be seen as the primary reason that we had you take the TKI twice, so we can make that distinction. It's a powerful part of all the recommendations that can be made for improving conflict handling behavior in a group.